So I'm going to just start by saying this. I want you to think about a time in your life when you were in a stormy mindset. I just want you to think about something in your life where you were in kind of that dark consciousness when your man done left you, or your woman done left you, or they both left you for someone else. Right? Just think about that time in your life. Um, so I'm putting this talk together, and I was like, so if I go to that place, what's it feel like when I'm in that dark, cloudy place? And I came up with three things. I generally feel judged when I'm in one of those places. Someone's judged me, or someone's made me less than, made me think I'm less than I really am. Right? So I'm feeling judged. And then I thought about, well, wait, what else? I failed at something. Remember how you felt when you failed at something? And when you failed at something really that you thought was important? Yeah. And then the big one that came up for me was feeling dark and stormy when I compare myself to other people, especially people who are successful, or people that are especially successful at something I wanted to be successful at. So it's that comparison game. So all three of those, it's feeling judged, failing at something important, and comparing myself to others. So I was in the restroom this week on Monday when I come in for my day of work here at the center. I was in the restroom, and I was standing in front of the men's area, the urinal. And I was standing in front of the urinal, and for the first time, I actually looked in front of me and read the quote that apparently I put on the wall above the urinal at some point. And here's what it said. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. I know. How many times have I peed in that bathroom? And yet, have I ever taken the time to read that? And I was like, wow, that is really cool. I mean, I played that role, and I looked so hard for the picture of me and singing in the rain. I went all over the internet. Apparently, no one's interested in that, so it wasn't anywhere to be found. So, yesterday at the race, the idea of comparing myself to other people. So, I was running the race. Lisa, me, and our friend Mike ran the race together, the 10K. And Mike is 28 years old, in very good shape. Well, he has a knee problem at the moment, but it didn't seem to affect him. He was in very good shape, but he was going to do the race with me. Now, I had a plan for my race. It was 2 minutes of walking, 2 minutes of walking a little faster, then 2 minutes of speed walking, then 2 minutes of jogging, then 2 minutes of what's that called? Sprinting. Thank you. Thank you. Right? So it was walk, faster, speed walk, jog, sprint. That's 10 minutes. Now, I also knew that based on my training for the last 3 months, it was going to take me an hour and a half to finish six miles. I was good with that. I thought Mike was good with that. We went ahead of Lisa because Lisa had her own race, and she knew. Lisa does what's called a turtle walk, which is this, right? Is that it? Something your hips do all the walking. Yeah. She was like, just keep walking because I'm going to be behind you. I'm doing the turtle walk. So we're doing the walk, and Mike got bored after my first 10 minutes. He was like, I want to change this up. He said, let's just walk, jog, sprint. Well, I'm competitive. And I didn't want it to seem like I'm a 71-year-old man talking to a 28-year-old saying, I can't do that. So I didn't say I can't do that. I just did it. So I did walk, jog, sprint. I did it 2 or 3 times, and then I was dead. I was like, I can't keep this up. I don't want to tell him I can't keep this up, but I can't keep this up. And then he turned to me and he said, well, we're on track to be done in an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm like, I can't cut 15 minutes out of this. That will kill me. And so we finally, and then I see it says mile 4. And so I've been doing from 4 miles. I actually thought I was going to see mile 6. And it said mile 4. And I just turned to him and I went, and we're done. I said, I'm going back to my walk, jog, sprint. I said, please be my guest. And he went, great. And he went off. So now I have been kind of tracking this woman during my jog. She was a very tall woman, and she seemed to be, she was a very large, tall woman, but she was jogging the whole time. So when I'm doing walk, jog, sprint, I'm like getting ahead of her, and then I'm going back to walking, and she passes me. So this is going on the whole time. Then Mike leaves, and now I'm by myself, and she starts passing me. And then I got competitive. I was like, I cannot let her get to the finish line before me. I just have this thing with her. And so I go back to walking, she passes me. Then I do my fast walking, she's still ahead of me. Then I do my speed walking, and I sort of catch up to her. Then I started jogging, now I'm jogging alongside of her. Then I sprinted for 30 seconds because I could not at that point do 2 minutes. So I sprinted way ahead of her, and then I went back to my 2 minutes of walking, which she passed me. So this went on for 2 miles. And now they say, you're at the end. It's all downhill. Bull. It was not downhill. Remember that, Lisa? And they say, it's all downhill. No, it was not. In fact, it was downhill and uphill, bet more than it had ever been the whole run. And so I'm going downhill, and I'm doing great. And then as soon as the uphill comes, I'm like, I'm walking. So I start to walk uphill, and she comes right by me jogging. Now I can see the finish line. And here's where it all came to me. So I had a lot of things going through my mind during this whole thing. I was like, am I comparing myself to other people? Am I like doing this? Am I destroying my body in order to prove a point that I'm not 71 years old, that my body can do whatever I tell it to do? And am I making this a competition with this woman who at that point was a little bit behind me, but came in front of me, and I hear her saying on her earbud, she goes, well, I'm not dead. She said, I'm still moving, so I think I'm going to make it to the finish line. And then I was like, I am competing with a woman who's doing something so impactful for herself. She could care less about me. At which point she turns to me and looks at me like, and I was like, oh my God, she's been competing with me the whole time. It's just that feeling of energy from the consciousness of one to the other. And I was like, you know what, James, forget your metaphysical stuff. Just compete and win. And then I was like, wait, no, that's your old person. Because Lisa was saying, did you have conversations with yourself during the whole time? I said, I certainly did. And so then we get to this path, and it was a narrow path with only one person could get through. And she got ahead of me. I was like, oh my God, if this path goes all the way to the finish line, I can't pass her. And it didn't. And then it stopped, and then it was a downhill thing, and I just started going. And then I saw the finish line, and I started sprinting. And I honestly do not know where that sprint came from, because I, like you, I saw that finish line. I thought I was going to crawl across it. But I didn't. And I just kept running. And then no one was there to see me come across. They were all in the booth. Mike had apparently just gone to the booth and forgot I was even running. And Kevin, nobody came out. No one was cheering me. I went across the finish line, and I was like, ah! And I was like, this is what happens when you compete with yourself. No one's there to tell you how great you did. No one's there to cheer you on. It's all in your head. And then this woman, she actually should have just plowed into me and knocked me down. But she came across the finish line. And there were all these people cheering her on. They were at the end. They were like, yay! And she's like, I did it. And I turned around and I was like, she wasn't competing with me at all. She was competing with herself. And I really got it. I was like, so it's self-esteem month. Would it have mattered if I came in after her? Would it have mattered if, and then I did look up at the time and saw that I had actually I thought I was coming in at 1 hour, 30 minutes. That's what I timed myself at. But I actually came in at 1 hour, 19 minutes. So somehow I picked up all that speed. And at the end of it, I was like, and what did it matter? I'm still trying to figure that out. My body's telling me today to figure it out before you consider doing the half marathon, which I immediately said. I said, next year I'll do the half marathon. I was like, no, you won't. That's ridiculous. So this whole idea of comparing ourselves to other people, I mean, I work this stuff all the time. I rarely compare myself to anyone anymore. And yet I got all riled up and started comparing myself. I even compared myself to Brad. I was like, Brad's doing the half marathon. Maybe I should have considered that. My body was like, you're doing the 10K. You should have stuck with the 5K. And the 1K would have been nice. You could have done 1 mile and gone back to the booth. So I'm here today as a witness to you all that this idea of comparing ourselves, I have this Dr. Seuss quote. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Just think about that quote. I have so many people in my life who love me, and love me, my husband for one, who loves me in spite of all of the crap I put him through, because I matter to him. So Self-Esteem Month needs to be about us mattering to ourselves and not caring what other people may think. Because the people that judge you, the people that are sarcastic to you, the people who bring you down, and you all know who they are in your life, those people, they shouldn't matter to you. Because the people that matter, because the people that matter to you really accept you for who you are. Now it's your turn to accept yourself for who you are. So the title of my talk today is, What's the Weather? And what I mean by that is, what is the weather in your mind? So I'm going to ask you this question. How do you deal with the weather in your life? How do you deal with the storm clouds in your life? How do you deal in your life when things go wrong? When things don't go necessarily how you expect them to go? How do you deal with that? What's your consciousness around it? What shows up in your body when you are having to go through something that's perhaps difficult for you to go through? I want to talk about how this whole idea of stormy weather. Now, when you listen to her sing this song, it's a depressing song, right? Keeps raining all the time is the last lyric. It doesn't even give you an uplifting ending. It's just saying, it's the blues, right? It's the blues. It just keeps raining all the time. How many people feel sometimes that their life is raining all the time? It gets sunny for a minute and then it's raining again. And the question isn't about how do you stop the rain. The question's what you find in the men's urinal. How do you learn to dance in the rain? How do you learn to accept it all as part of a journey? To accept it all as part of your life. And part of that is about your ability to know who you are at the center of it, in spite of everything that's going on. So here's a great quote from Joseph Burgo. We all go through emotional storms, but what matters is how we see ourselves in the middle of them. So last week I talked about knowing yourself so profoundly that everything in your life, your belief of who you are, is what is setting up the world you live in, right? That was all about last week. So this quote, we all have them, the emotional storms, but what matters is, who do you know yourself to be in the middle of that storm? I remember when we went through losing our daughter, and I had to ask myself all the time, who am I? Who are you? Does this all change? I remember when, and you've all heard this story about the Facebook post of someone saying you're going to have to evaluate your whole philosophy now. And I had to ask myself, am I going to change my whole philosophy of life because the most traumatic, tragic thing that I could have ever imagined actually happened? And the answer was no, which is why I barely missed a service. Because that service, getting up and speaking every Sunday, saved my butt. Kept reminding me who I was. I kept reminding me who I was. So this is really great. And now Joseph Burgo, by the way, he wrote a book called The Narcissist You Know. And then it says, defending yourself against extreme narcissists in an all-about-me age. So who do you know yourself to be? The back of our shirt said, do you know how great you are? Some people may feel that's narcissistic. When I tell people who they are, how great they are, all the potential they have inside of them, a lot of people think perhaps that, this seems like a little egocentric, this kind of philosophy. But it's not. Because the more you know yourself to be, the more you have to give to the universe. I don't know about you, but if I'm in a tough situation, I want someone who knows who they are, knows how strong they are, who I can lean on. Not someone who's going to say to me, oh my God, I've had that happen to me. Isn't it awful? Like we have happened to us. Don't you all have friends like that? There are a lot of people that just love when you're having problems. In fact, some of them walk away from you when you come to a center like this and start being happy. In fact, somebody has left this community because they said, no, actually it was in Palm Springs. She came to Palm Springs and she was there for like weeks. And then she said, I just, this happiness thing that you all have is really difficult. And I was like, well, and then I told you that. She wrote me the letter saying, I found the perfect church for me. I was like, okay. Yeah, it was not Baptist. It's not a Baptist church. So I have a couple things here to go over quickly. How low self-esteem reacts to storms. So it's all about how you react to these things, right? Not about them happening. Guess what? Shift is going to happen. Take out the F. You know exactly what I'm saying, right? It's going to happen. It doesn't mean you're less than because you have a problem. It doesn't mean you're less than because something's happening to you that's awful. We are not the science where we say, how did I create that? I'm so stupid. No, we could say, okay, what did I think to bring this up in a positive way? So low self-esteem reacts to storms by A, I'm not good enough. B, I always mess up. This is just what I always do. And 3, letting that one moment define your identity. Some of you here, possibly, still have stories that you tell. You still have these stories that identify you. It's funny, Jackie wrote a new book that's really terrific, and she talks all about what's happened to her in her life. And when we met to talk about her book, I said, you're so cheerful about it. You really have a great perspective on everything that's happened in your life. A lot of people don't. A lot of people, what happened to them becomes who they are. And if you still have things in your life that you're holding on to because for some reason you can't let it go, then it is identifying you, whether you know it or not. And you're dragging it into the future. I'm not standing here pointing at you for a reason, Kirby. So Kirby, stop it. Drop it. Okay. Right. Okay. So now let's look at how a healthy self-esteem handles these storms. A healthy self-esteem, somebody who really knows who they are, something happens, they like, I failed. I failed. Now what? That's a positive self-esteem. Positive self-esteem doesn't say, it's not a failure, it's me learning, it's all that bull crap talk that we talk ourselves into and we ignore that we're feeling like horrible. It's saying, I feel terrible, I failed, now what? Now how can I move forward? What can I learn from this and move forward? That's a healthy self-esteem. They don't get stuck in the failure identity. They just recognize this brilliance that they are. They created a failure. They don't like it. Doesn't feel good. What am I going to do? What's next? That's a healthy self-esteem. And a healthy self-esteem has compassion for the experience. That's a tough one for a lot of people. Compassion for yourself. If your child failed like this, you'd have the compassion, infinite compassion, to tell them they're okay. What you did was fine. You'll do better next time. But compassion for yourself, whole different story. And then in the quantum realm, realizing that you are the observer of the storm, not the storm itself. You don't create necessarily the storm that's happening. You are complicit. You are. But life also has a way of being complicit and adding into what's going on in your world. So the question would be, are you willing to recognize yourself as the observer as opposed to the thing itself, that thing? Ernest Holmes says it when he says, you are not your beliefs, you're the believer. So start understanding how powerful you are. So I have a quote that I wrote, and it's this: storms don't define the sky any more than tough moments in your life define you. There's a beautiful blue sky there. When storms happen, do you think of the sky? When you think of a sky, don't you usually think of a sky as beautiful? I do. I don't go to stormy weather, unless Carol's going to sing it, right? I think of sky. When I think of the sky, I think of this beautiful blue, sunlit, gorgeous sky. When you think of your life, what do you think of? Sometimes I think you think of a lot of the storms that came along during it, and you think it's all of it, but it's not. Because in a quantum understanding of life, your life is infinite possibility. Your life is infinite love, infinite creativity. Your life is all the possibilities that could ever possibly be present, and your job is merely to say yes to it, to be willing to live it. Will there be some storm clouds along the way? Probably. Does that mean that's who you are? No, it does not. So, the title of my talk is, What's the Weather? I think it's really important to know who the person is experiencing the experience. It's really up to you to understand that no matter what's going on in your life, and there can be some crazy stuff going on in your life. There's crazy stuff going on in the world today. And so that happens to pull in and drip over to who we are. There's a lot of that going on. But is it who we are? Or is it what we're experiencing? So as you go through the rest of this month, in Self-Esteem Month, I want you to pay attention to the weather. I want you to pay attention. Our daughter, Nora, her favorite weather was cloudy weather. When we would wake up in the morning, it'd be cloudy and rainy, she'd be like, oh my God, it's my favorite day. And I'd be like, who are you? Really, Kevin and I were like, but now, whenever it gets, because it was this morning, cloudy and rainy, I think of her, which is positive. You know, I've turned it around. Whenever the clouds come along, I feel like she's up there or down there or over there or back there saying, I'm still here. There is a way for you to reframe everything in your life if you're willing to be the director, if you're willing to realize you are the creator of your experience. So as you go through the rest of this month, when stormy weather comes up, please don't sing the blues. Be willing to understand that you're the composer. You can sing those same lyrics, and we can put an up-tempo to it and cheer yourself out. And understanding it's raining all the time. I could say it's raining all the time because I love rain. Or I could say, my life is just a drip at a time, and it's raining all the time. Same words, different perspective, which means I'm going to throw all back to you. You get to decide what you do with your own stormy weather. Namaste. Thank you.